is where the drama starts. Lap 30, 8 laps to go. Sandobi hoping to take advantage of these lapped cars. Poleski dives onto the right side, very aggressive here. This is lap 4. The two Viceroys, Bill Frazier ahead of Matt Poleski. Frazier's off. Frazier hit the grass. You hit that tire wall, your day is done. You know, it's lap 20. The Williams still trying to get around the Terrell team as he'll go around the lap car and around those at the same time. At the same time, he's got the inside corner. Will he ride the curb? Yes, he will. He will get him on the inside. Vito Maria leading us all into Moss's corner. Look at the beauty as his right side will cook the grass a little. A 360. Oh. Who will yield going into this corner? It's really not meant for too wide as it will be Gernot. Gernot will yield. Lots of smoke picking up from that Williams car. He is pushing it to the absolute limit. 26 of 30 now. Only 4 laps to go. He's going to get the run coming out the final corner. He's going to pull up side by side with the leader. It's going to be a drag race to the finish. Who is going to get there first? It's going to be...
The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and he missed the complete that. He's crazy.
As I said, Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through, he tags Richard Eck.
The round before the final prelude. The anticipation now comes fully into view, and the road to Monza has one final roadblock. And here it is. It's here at one of the all-time classics in motorsport. Altered but never ceasing to amaze, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps hosts round 11 of the CTC Lotus 79 series here on iRacing Live and the global SimRacing channel. Good afternoon, race fans, to the countdown to green, where anything that can happen probably will happen here today. I am your play-by-play for this afternoon, Mr. Hashtag Do You Mind himself, Jake Sperry, eagle-eyed here with anticipation over the final couple of rounds. Joining me is none other than Mr. GSRC himself, Joe Peak. I'm Jed Yarman, will be on camera duty for this afternoon, as the legendary Dougie of the Beard has provided the cameras. But Joe, Spa never gets old, and a true test of top speed, car balance and precision driving. There is a reason why for year after year, this circuit is the bastion of pace for drivers searching for opportunity.
And there will be opportunity aplenty, because fast straights in this car means big slipstreams. If you can stay within touch of your opponent around here, you're gonna get a chance to pass at some point. The 4.3 mile or 7 kilometer layout of the modern circuit that they're racing today has been around since 2007 and has some incredibly long flat-out blasts among its 19 turns. But it's not going to be an easy cruise through the Ardennes Mountains on these 21 laps today. There's good reason that turns like Eau Rouge, Pouhon, and Blanchimont have gained incredible notoriety within the racing world. This is still considered a driver's track even to this day, and those who come out on top can feel that little bit more proud having proven themselves at a legendary circuit. To get a real feel for what they're experiencing, let's jump on board the GSRC Lotus 79. All right, we've got Juha Norlampi in the GSRC Lotus 79, so let's do a lap around Spa. The source hairpin is an excellent place to pass, but it's also super dangerous on the first lap. Cars packed tightly together on a sharp hairpin, all eager to gain positions, is just a recipe for contact. Your exit off the corner will definitely be a critical one. As you fly down the hill, you're quickly approaching Eau Rouge, and with the ground effects of the 79, it's easily flat through this frightening set of bends. And that's why the run from La Source is so important. You're not lifting all the way until you reach Lacombe. The Kimmel Straight is going to be chock full of draft battles all race long. It'll definitely be a strategic fight if you can stay within the slipstream of your opponent throughout the lap up until here. But the braking for the chicane offers chances to attack or defend from the inside or the outside. The switchback allows some unique situations for the brave. Around Malmedy, you've now hit the highest part of the circuit. Immediately, the track begins to plunge back downhill, and the first corner you'll meet is Rivage. Like most cars, you'll be fighting understeer, but you won't have much time to switch sides and set up for no-name corner. Be careful not to let the car get upset by the curbing, since it could spin you out if a bump causes it to bottom out. Up ahead, you can see the valley where the lap began, but no time to sightsee because you gotta chuck it into Pouhon. If you don't drift wide, you can hold it flat out through the second half. The immense power of this car and the help from the drop in elevation means you'll be carrying a terrifying amount of speed by the time you hit Fagnes. That'll make it tricky to get the car into each apex, but the most consistent drivers will find it paying off in lap time. Once again, get the car across the track because you're quickly thrown into Stavolo. The first half can be tough, but the one you want to focus on is the second half. A small lift will get you through, and ideally getting back to the gas early should gain you lots of lap time. This is the other longest portion of the circuit with your foot flat to the floor. Cars within a reasonable distance behind will start creeping forward in your mirrors. No lifting through Blanchimont, so keep that right pedal planted. Then, drift the car off to the left and throw out the anchors for the bus stop. This will be another popular overtaking spot, but keeping from overshooting the corner will prove tough even by yourself. Stay off the giant sausage curves and then gently get back onto the gas. If you manage to keep it together, you've now finished a lap around Spa.
And there we see the GSRC Lotus 79 having a nice little scrap around the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. Nice to see them back, though, after having issues at Motorsport. Nice to see the vehicle going around. But the schedule, round 11 of 12, drivers have 4 drop weeks. Teams only have 2 drop weeks. So a lot of incisiveness that has to be played for in the championship picture between now and the end of the season. 21 laps will be racing here today. No stops for fuel, but open setup means you can race it however you want to fix your vehicle up. Official iRacing points for the drivers' standings. And let's move on to them because it's getting a lot more tense and close the further we get on in this season. Points can be a dangerous game, and nothing is more dangerous for Juha Noorlampi than the form Moreira has shown in the last couple of weeks, going back-to-back on victories. Nuno Moreira has 1 drop remaining, so the 39 points gap could be next to nothing by the end of today's action, giving us a grandstand finish for the circuit of Monza. While if you look in 3rd position, Gernot Friche, the man who is synonymous here with Lotus 79, gains 2 positions, but he also has 2 drop weeks to use. But Joe, is Gernot too far back to do anything with the drops at this stage?
He's a giant question mark, but, you know, I'm of the mind when it comes to championships that never say never, because I've seen too many of them turn over in the dying stages. You just really don't know, and Gernot could have great races while Juha and Nuno have horrible races, so it could all still turn around. It just needs the right set of circumstances.
It certainly does, and one of the helping factors will be there is no Sergio Macias here today, and that's going to be crucial as well for the iRacing Championship points as well. We'll keep an eye on that one, the battle between Macias, Noorlampi and Moreira. But the Teams Championship, no more drop weeks available for drivers, so it is the same story of domination for Fittipaldi Automotive. However, it is a tie for 3rd that will have everybody intrigued. Ferrari with Hoferer and Gattuso, and the Williams team with Ruicola and Toe. It's anybody's game, Joe, in the teams.
Yeah, and don't forget Renault in there as well. They're only 1 point back from them. So the final podium spot is really the hot one. And those are great teams to be fighting for this one. A lot of incredible talent in there that is going to make it spicy.
And also you have to look at Equipe Renault as well, just 2 points back. The team of Gerber and Gerber will always be a team to look out for. But qualifying right now, we were talking about Gernot Friche. He's 3/10 clear of the rest of the field. Drivers on their 2nd laps as things stands. And the first of the real title protagonists that will be setting the lap time is Nuno Moreira here as he runs through Stavolo, the right-hander, as he makes the run to corner Paul Frere and the run to Blanchimont on this ferocious section of track. And Moreira is absolutely gunning it.
Yeah, this is where things get interesting, especially if he hasn't heated those tires up. I'm sure he's got a quali set, though, coming here through Blanchimont. If you don't have the right set, if you can't get the tires hot, it can be hard to hold it flat out through there, but he did it just fine.
Absolutely perfect on the brakes into the modified bus stop chicane, this final chicane, which is, some would say, ruined over the past few years, as it's a very difficult right into an off-camber left across the line. Early dive, lap time will not count from Nuno Moreira. He has had an off-track somewhere, so it will not matter when you get right down to it. But Gerd Hoferer now on a awful qualifying on a 207 flat, currently 15th. Not what he wants as the heir apparent to Friche's throne. And Hoferer will make the drive to the line. 206.2. That's a lot better, but it's only the 5th row as things stand. Ruicola moves up to 4th.
And right behind Noorlampi, who only got 1 lap in. And we should note that Noorlampi's been fighting some sickness lately. I believe he said he's been having some flu-like symptoms. So he's a little bit under the weather. He's got it even harder than you would want when you're fighting for a championship.
He certainly does. And everybody now across the line. The grid is as follows. Journaux Friche, when he needs it the most, he delivers. 2:05.352. He is clear. 0.3 of a second from Nuno Moreira in second. And the championship leader, Juha Noralampi, will start from third. Joining him on the second row, also a 2:05.6, is Joni Kaisunen in the number 6. Kaie Ruokola will start from 5th position, joined by Steve Bycroft and Hria Hughes in 7th position. Matt Wood, good qualifying from him today in 8th position, with Cedric Krolschick surely outperforming the vehicle in 9th, with Gerd Hoferer rounding out the top 10.
Bit of a smaller grid since we had a split today. So Fabian Gerber in 11th. Andre Ventura will be next to him in row 6 in 12th. Nicola Cocci starts in 13th with QC Clapp in the 14th position. Timu Toika behind them in 15th. Pablo Lombera Suarez in 16th and John Stevens in 17th. Then in P18, you've got Marco Kika with Mark Pickford returning in 19th. And then 20th will be Sammy Valmiaki, and I'll just finish these off. Barry West will start in 21st. Thorsten called 22nd, and Ryan Walker did not get a time in. He's going to be on tail end Charlie.
Tail end Charlie, 23 drivers then. So a split that leaves 45, 46 drivers. I have to say that is a fantastic number of field for today's racing here at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. And it means that points will be aplenty. And even not in this split, the team's championship may potentially be affected come the end of this race. It's the last bastion that you have. It's the last chance before you head to Monza. And the first time we ever saw the CTC in Monza, we had a very controversial finish with Nuno Moreira and Tim Bertie. But today, not about Monza. It's about the race before. It's about Spa-Francorchamps, a circuit where everything has to be A-OK and inch to perfection to get the most out of a very difficult circuit. Advantage Friche on the run into turn number 1. He will have that inside line, as so many tracks seem to do offer here on the iRacing service. But what has to be said is that everyone will be a little bit nervous. Engine notes then will soon begin to rise as the green flag drops, and it's going to be 21 laps. Great start from Noralampi on the second row. He gets alongside his rival Moreira in towards turn number 1, the last horse hairpin, and they all fan out, and it's a good run there from Noralampi. He gets clear, but Journaux Friche even further clearer than that. Ruokola, 4th in the championship, needs to do something here. Kaisunen dropping back into the clutches of Hria Hughes, and they're going to go in towards this Eau Rouge section here, and no too wide, one bit of too wide. Ventura stuck on the outside in comparison to Cocci.
Oh, we had a bit of an accident with Marco Kika. We'll come back to that later. He got shunted into the barrier on the outside. He had some contact with another driver.
He certainly did, but they're battling at the front and looking at who's running wide. That is the driver of Juha Noralampi, dropping to 4th at the Les Combes section through Malmedy as they head through the right-hander and down towards Rivage. That was a mistake of being stuck on the outside of the circuit as he went too wide with Moreira. No contact between the two. That was clearly Noralampi misjudging his braking zone.
Remember I mentioned about in qualifying the cold tires. It's even worse here because you don't have the warm-up lap. It's just you're right into it, competing with everybody. Everybody's going to be tiptoeing right now, Jake. Everyone's
tiptoeing, but look who isn't. It is Nuno Moreira. He is hounding the back of Journaux Friche, but runs very wide off the exit of Pouron, the double left-hander, and now in towards the Fania chicane, this right-left long sweepers that you see, and then into Slavolo. Moreira's got to be careful about incident points here. They are very, very easy to accrue at this circuit, despite the fact that incident points have been relaxed in previous years.
Yeah, only 17 incident points, and then you are disqualified. That means you're out of this race right on the spot. And so you're right, drivers are really going to have to be kind of eyeing and keeping track of where they sit.
Fabian Gerber looking to go side by side with the driver of Cedric Krolschick on the run to Blanchimont, and almost gets himself alongside, but the door was shut by Krolschick in the 18 machine. He does very well to hold off that driver. Matt Wood then also just in front, having a very good run for Matt Wood standards here as they head through the final chicane here at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. But now onto the second lap they go, and running this pit layout, this Grand Prix layout, and not the classic layout. It did offer the opportunity in the early stages for incident to occur. Fortunately enough, it's only Marco Kika who has been involved.
All right, let's see what happened to Kika. I'm not sure which driver it was that he had side-by-side contact with. It's already marginal coming up and over Rodillion like you're going to see here, but when you get that little bit of touch, the car's already unsteady. It's at a loss of grip, and that was just enough to send him flying over into the tires.
It certainly is, and 2 into 1 definitely doesn't go at that section. I wouldn't put the blame on Kika there because he was as far as he could have possibly gone at that section of road, so there's going to be a little bit of work to be done now for Marco Kika to get anything out of this event. Side by side, though, through Malmedy, and there's contact with Ventura. He gets away with it just. He caught the vehicle lovely. Pickford and Stevens would have been easy pickings in that accident if they weren't careful. And there's more contact there as Thorsten Cow gets into the side of him.
Oof, these guys really need to calm down. I know it's easy to get the adrenaline up and going and make these risky decisions, but it's a long race to go, and this track is incredibly punishing despite all the modern safety standards that they've added with this, the paved runoff.
And Marco Kika is officially out of this event. Ventura, I was wondering if he had any suspension damage or anything like that he had to negotiate with through that section of road. It is always a very difficult area to be dealing with, but looking at again Nora Lampe running wide there out to corner Paul Frere. He was trying to carry all the pace and a little bit more, and if he went a little bit further there may have been a slowdown penalty to have accrued.
He's trying his best to get back past Kali Ruokola. This is exactly what Nora Lampe didn't need, although a fourth will still net him decent points, and that's really all he needs here, is just to make sure that he gets a little bit better than what he did on his drop weeks.
Yeah, that's the crucial factor that he's got to do, but the issue was he's been so consistent this season with a lot of second places. He's got to hope Nuno Moreira doesn't take more pointage out of him by winning a third consecutive race here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Battles going on though through the field. Gerd Hoferer trying to charge up. He's +2 already in the day so far. He's looking at Steve Bycroft next as his next challenger as he makes the run up Eau Rouge and into Radion, the right-hander, or the left-hander at the top of the hill. And well, falling a little bit far back. You don't have DRS like you do in modern machines to make things happen. Behind that, Team Utoika versus QC Clap fighting in the team's championship.
Oh, we got a fight for the lead, side by side, going into Lacombe.
And Frichet almost losing it, gets a hold of it, but my goodness, Moreira around the outside at Lacombe. It takes a brave man to make that happen, and well, gets it around the outside, and that was nothing more than Journo Frichet just getting a little bit too twitchy and losing that position. Disaster for Nora Lampe now.
That was a great catch as we watch it from above. Just, I'm amazed that he kept that car together because it was almost into the grass on the outside of Lacombe.
And crucially, Nora Lampe got through at exactly the same section, doing, guess what, exactly the same move around the outside of Kaye Ruokola into the right. And that was Ruokola getting a big drift in the mid part of the corner, getting away with it. The tyres coming up to temperature just, but you can see how they're struggling.
Yeah, and it's not exactly a hot track today. I'm surprised. I would think by now that the tires should be up to temperature for everyone. It's only 91 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature. I'm sorry I don't have it in Celsius right now, but it shouldn't have been maybe more than a lap to really be up to speed.
I've got it in Celsius, 33 degrees, so very average temperatures here. You could almost say ideal temperatures here today at this circuit as we continue to see the leading four right now. Moreira, Frichet, Nora Lampe, Ruokola, all searching to getting as many points as they possibly can at the late stages of this event. Look, though, behind Joni Kajanen, because Kajanen has been known in the last couple of races to start building a few trains, Joe. And he's got a bit of a choo-choo train behind him. Hughes, Bycroft, Hoferer, Wood, Krolschik, Gerber, also Kochi, all there. And that is all the way back from 4th to 12th. An 8-car train heading its way up towards Eau Rouge.
Yeah, and as we watched over the tail there of Kajanen, and Hughes had a big moment coming out of La Source, but held onto it. The car seems unsteady, and he got a horrible run over Rodin. Here comes Bycroft on him.
And you can see instant defensiveness from the Welshman of Clear Hughes. Now Bycroft going to the outside, doesn't have enough top speed. Maybe he could get him on the brakes, but he's not confident enough through this section. Now he can try an up and under, but he never carried enough speed through that section. He's going very, very defensive here is Bycroft.
And this is just backing things up more, because look at Hofer getting onto the tail of Bycroft as well. If they're not careful, things are going to get so stacked up that someone's going to make a dive, and that could all go wrong.
Oh, a dive would be very, very awful for a few drivers who are looking to try and secure some points. Remember, Hofer is in the Ferrari, so he needs as many points as he possibly can for the team's championship. He's in that scrap with Williams at the moment, so that would be Ruacola in that scrap too. And just behind that, Fabian Gerber of the Renault Elf team. He's going to be so crucial for this title fight as well, knowing the fact that the Gerbers haven't been around too much this season and probably have a few points at their disposal, Joe.
Yeah, just sitting in 11th. He's right smack dab in the middle of the mid-pack right now, and he's going to want to try and climb a little higher. He's got some great opportunities ahead of him if he can stay with this train, but if he starts to let them slip away, it's going to be much harder to try to run them down and make a pass.
Battle for P number 14 at this stage right now. John Stevens versus Team Utoika. I had to think about that. In fact, it's P15 because QC Clap has just monstered away from Team Utoika on this lap. Toika under a lot of pressure now from John Stevens. Stevens, the teammate to the driver of Nuno Moreira, who leads this event on the brakes into the final chicane. Not close enough. You need to be really following within about 2/10 if you're going to stand any chance of a dive into the final section.
And that can be a tough one if you are following close, because remember, Blanchimont is right before that. This car gives off a huge wake, Jake, which means that you lose that downforce in that critical point on that left-hander.
Yeah, you have to be incredibly careful when you get to that sort of section. Eye on Nora Lampi, though, as Ruacola in with a little bit of space as he looks to close that gap down. 3/10, 2/10, not close enough here for Ruacola to do anything, but Ruacola losing the draft here to Journo Friche could start dropping back if Friche doesn't do anything to close down Moreira at the front of the field. Comparing lap times, though, Journo Friche was the fastest man of the lot, 2:06.5, and in fact, that is the fastest lap of the event today.
Ooh, bit of off on the apex, but he squared it off nicely, Norlampi. He's got to be careful, because if Ruacola's got the grip mid-corner, he can just slice his way underneath there, although that could also end a disaster as well. But he got away with it this time.
This time, it doesn't matter if you lose it now, it's about if you lose it later. Is still the battle between Toika and Stevens Cruz. And behind that, Thorsten Cowell against Andrea Ventura. Ventura needs to be on the recovery, -7 after the incidents he had a couple of laps ago. He's now got to start picking off drivers one by one, not think about the bigger picture at this stage, Joe.
Well, next up is going to be Call for him, and he is right on top of him. So that's a plus, at least as he's coming up to what's going to be a nice long stretch. If he can hold this coming up through Curve of Paul Frere up towards the run to Blanchimont, that's going to get him a great opportunity with the draft.
And he needs all of the draft and maybe a little bit more to help. Cowell will be able to defend thanks to the draft of Mark Pickford just in front. So the driver of Thorsten Cowell will be looking to try and just play defense at this stage. But look how close Andrea Ventura is. The gap, 1/10 of a second between the pair of them. He thinks about going down to the inside at Blanchimont. It's not the most recommended line. You can see just how much time he loses through the mid part of the corner as they get themselves onto the brakes into the final chicane. And Thorsten Cowell running incredibly deep. Too deep's the answer, and there's an unforced error.
All right, well, I thought he was going to miss out on that, but Ventura's patience paid off. That gets him up into 18th. Next up is Pickford. Pickford also slid his way into that corner as well, so he seems to be struggling and might be able to be picked off by Ventura pretty quickly.
So you can see just how the push starts to go. The gap there at the front, that comes down at 0.6 of a second. Here comes Journo Friche. Thought about the move, but he's more experienced than that, as is Nuno Moreira, so he'll make sure that he waits for another day to try and get himself around. And Journo Friche struggling in the dirty air. They're losing 0.3 of a second through Malmedy, the right-hander, as they look to get on the brakes into the right of Rivage, and what I've heard sometimes being known as Speaker's Corner, the corner without a name here, this left-hander out on circuit.
Yeah, the one that Martin Brundle likes to call No Name. This is important for Frisch because it's not just Nora Lampi that he's fighting. Moreira is ahead of him in the points, so he needs to try and overtake him if he wants to take this championship.
And you'd feel anything less of a victory will be very disappointing for Friche, knowing he was 0.3 quicker in qualifying. So he'll have to be quicker in that respect if he wants to get back onto that scrap as things look to continue here in the event. And QC Clap has run into big issues. Well, not necessarily, he's back going, but maybe issues of the variety of technical we're starting to see with QC Clap.
Yeah, coming through Ravage, we're going to see it on the replay. I did this a bit in my practice. If you come in too hot, the rear really wants to come around there. And thankfully, he caught it before he got into the barriers, but he did clatter over those curbs. The underside of this car really doesn't like to be damaged because you need it to be perfect.
And it's been a poor lap this lap for Jono Friche. Look at how Moreira has suddenly pulled out a gap, and the bridge between the divide is very apparent between the drivers. See 206.8 for Jono Friche, the gap almost a second now for Nuno Moreira, who sets the fastest lap of the day so far, 206.527. Guess who was close though? Juha Noralampi, 4 thousandths off of the fastest lap.
I was just going to say, it's not just that Jono needs to worry about dropping Moreira. Noralampi has shaken Ruokola this lap, which means now he can focus on what's ahead instead of behind, and he might be able to gun down Jono.
He could hunt down Jono Friche very easily. Eyes on Bycroft though. He's very close to the Welshman. Clear Hughes yet again in the 15 machine. Clear Hughes having a fantastic race in 6th position. Look at that gap close again. 2/10, 1/10 to the outside. Tries Steve Bycroft, but again, not happy about making that move. Trying to up and under, up and under, up and under again with Clear Hughes, but again, struggling here through Lakeum section. It's the one weakness right now I see is Steve Bycroft.
In fact, he got run down by Gerd Hofer as well, who's just right on that gearbox. Look at him going through Ravage. That Ferrari is looking rock solid in these slower corners.
It is, but in the fast sections, Hofer is struggling, and this is the big issue that drivers have with this circuit. It has got very many identities. It almost has an identity crisis in certain situations, Joe, which means setup's ability is just a horror show when you get right down to it.
That seems very Belgian to just be a mix of a couple things thrown in there. But Gerd Hofer is making good right now. He went through Puhan pretty well and has held on to the back of Bycroft. This is what we've seen, though, the really important part. If he could just get the run off of here. Oh, he's too far back in Stavelot.
Well, you're actually quite right about Belgium being a country made up after the French and the Dutch had an argument with each other. So they decided, let's create Belgium. So that's Belgium for you in a nutshell. And right now, keeping my eye out here on how the battles look, it seems that the gaps are starting to close down at the front of the field. The train of 4, very much a train of 4 at this stage. And Clear Hughes again holding on to his train that he's got in front. But no driver in this train can afford to have themselves a bad run. Talk about Cedric Krolschik, for example, a driver that we normally see outside the top 20. Currently -1 for the day, but that's not bad for Krolschik being in position 10 today.
Yes, he's certainly being Cedric the Entertainer for us in the middle of this pack. But right now, Gerber's closing in on him. Remember, we were talking about him earlier. He's found his legs under him, and he's starting to threaten. Let's see if he can get over Radillon and stay close behind.
Yeah, let's see how he gets this run over Radillon. And, well, Gerber having a okay run, but Krolschik's got draft. Everyone's got draft. Bycroft looking now to use that draft and try and make his way through on the outside, as everybody's tried here today. And look at that, gets himself to the outside, but he's going to track a little bit wide. Hughes is going to stay with him as he cuts up the corner. And look at that from Clear Hughes. They stay side by side here through Malmedy. The run to Ravage. Hofer trying to get in on the action, 3 wide. Not going to work, but look who's stuck on the outside. Can he hold it around the outside is the question here for Stevens. He'll have the inside for Speaker's Corner. And guess what? He has the inside for Speaker's Corner. What a brilliant battle. But again, Hughes on the outside, and he gets the cut. And look at Hofer.
Whoa, wild move there from Gerd, and almost got into the back of Steve Bycroft. Had to give a big lift. Look at just how close everybody is to one another. Things are getting incredibly tense. You got to keep your head on a swivel in this situation.
In the words of good old JR, business has just picked up in this situation. And look at how the train stacks up. It reminds me of a certain Jake Sperry who made a train in AOR a few seasons ago. But besides the point of that, you see now how Clear Hughes is holding up 8 drivers all in the same train. And look at the back of the train. Gerber's through on Gerber, I thought was through on the driver of Krolschik. I got him mixed up for coaching.
My hat is off for Hughes so far. That was a beautiful defense, even when it seemed like it was all done and dusted with Bycroft able to get by. He's going to have another go. He's got a chance down into the bus stop.
Oh, he gets on the brakes, and he gets on the brakes deep, but he's going to be stuck on that inside track. And look at how it just bottlenecks up. Gets a good run out to the exit here, the run to last source. A little bit banked as well, so we could see maybe more moves being attempted into turn number 1, but everyone again staying line astern on the brakes into the right-hander. Lap 9 of 21, half distance in 2 laps time, or in fact a lap and a half's time as you may look out on circuit. The gap at the front remains 9/10 of a second between Prix and Moreira, but look at the lap times they're putting in at the front. It's Journo Prix who scores the fastest lap.
Which is good for him. It's down to 6/10 between himself and Moreira, but the Iberian has been just infallible out there today. I haven't really seen him put a foot wrong.
No, he hasn't, and that's a good trait of Nuno Moreira. He's always a consistent driver. You very rarely see him get involved in incidents. He's had 3 this season, though, which is the only crux in the armour that we've seen, but the drop weeks have come into his favour. No moves then from that big train in towards the Lacoum complex there, the right, left, right, with the Malmedy right at the end of the corner, but in towards Speaker's Corner once again. No chance for making any opportunities there at that section of track. And Kochi actually almost getting dropped off the back of this train now, and that's going to be a little bit easier for the drivers towards the back of that group.
Yeah, that's exactly what Gerber wanted. But as far as how Hughes goes, I think he's making Jarno truly proud today and keeping Bycroft and everybody back. In fact, I really haven't seen much in the way of a change for position behind him even.
Exactly. It's very difficult to make a move because everyone's got the draft on everyone else. The ground effect, they are very much stuck to the same set of rules, and you feel that all these drivers will feel that they've got an opportunity to break up forward into this next sort of pack, gain a top 10, gain even a top 5 if they really want to in this situation. Again on Journo Prix, he's closed that gap down. That's not 9/10 of a second anymore. I'd probably say 6/10 of a second as he crosses the line. It is, and it was a slower lap that time from Moreira. Maybe he's starting to feel the effects of pressure.
Could be, might be wearing out the tires with how he's pushing. Oh, yeah. And interestingly, Norlampi, remember, he was catching Frisha, but now he's got the car of Ruocola closing in on the back of him once again. So whatever was plaguing Cali has gone away, and he's got his legs under him again.
Got his legs, he's got going. I was talking about the wiggle of Steve Bycroft that we had coming out to the final chicane there. You've got to be very careful at that area of circuit to make sure that you're just not spinning up the rears too much. It will start to really hurt those rear tyres. Once they start spinning up, they get incredibly hot and they take a very long time to start cooling down again. So Bycroft's got to be careful here. He can't afford to do that too often.
And now that we've seen these guys go through Lacoum, what if we could go back up to Journo, because he was down to 2/10 of a second heading into Lacoum, and then he pushed it a little bit too wide. It went too deep on the brakes, and you can see he's lost a ton of time. It's back up to 9/10 of a second. I'm wondering if that number 1 is starting to overdrive the car a little.
Yes, and Journo Prix, you don't normally understand him overdriving the vehicle, but he's seen this new influx of talent develop and get onto his level, and this has been the thing with Journo Prix. He's been very good for so long, but now that he's got pretenders with him now here, Joe, do you feel that maybe Journo Prix now needs to work on his racecraft?
I think it really helped, but I wouldn't even call them pretenders. These guys are the real deal and have been hassling him for a number of seasons. So he knows what he's up against. And yeah, now it's going to come down not just to raw pace, but just how you do over the course of the race, managing the tires, managing your opportunities, figuring out when's the best place to put your car where.
Exactly. Let's look further back in the field right now to Sami Välimäki. He's under pressure now from Thorsten Cowell. In fact, Välimäki's got through on Thorsten Cowell over the last few laps or so. So Sami in the 22, up 1 position today, looking to pull away. And that's nice to see, actually. Positions being gained up and down. And what's even nicer is that we've only seen 1 retirement from this race.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was Marco Kika with that lap 1 incident. Ever since then, despite the tenseness that we've had, everybody's managed to hold on, and I don't think we've even really seen any contact.
No, we haven't seen too much contact either. We saw the 1 bit of contact with Andrea Ventura in the opening couple of laps, but at half distance, very different from certain scenarios, and there was a little wiggle there from Moreira. He was trying to break the draft of Friche and then got a little bit twitchy because that vehicle is so tentative and highly strung. And well, we look further back because we got ourselves a few things, and that's Matt Wood, and that's a Radion. That's a big one.
I had this moment so many times over this corner, Jake. I kind of expected to see this more often, but Wood's the first one to fall victim. When you come up over that corner, the ground effects don't work as much as you can, and it's amazingly, it can be hard sometimes to hold your foot all the way to the floor. Wood got a little too greedy.
And the ATS machine then is out of the event, and that creates a hole between Hofer and Krolschick, and now Krolschick will have to push to get back to the Ferrari driver of Jörn Hofer. And Hofer now, you feel in this situation, he will now want to start making moves here, knowing that Krolschick is behind, doesn't have the draft, and potentially could fall away.
Yeah, now that they've settled down, everybody's breaking apart a little bit, and I agree. If I was in Gerd's position, I'd start pushing a little bit harder, try and make the overtake now that I don't have to worry about the car behind.
Yeah, and that car behind can always be a very interesting situation. Sometimes it's not even to do with the dirty air effect from in front, the dirty air effect from behind. If you get close enough, that air that comes off the other vehicle, it can upset the other vehicles. That's what you sometimes call aero push, Joe.
Yeah, just like they experience in NASCAR quite a bit when they like to tuck the nose up under the car ahead to see if they can shake them. But right now, no such problems for Hofer as we watch them head to the bus stop.
No moves. And no moves there really into that bus stop behind them as well. As right now, you'd say it's a train of three. Look at how, though, Juha Noralampi has been dropped off the train of Jörn Friche. His lap times have been very good, though. A 2:06.408. In fact, I believe he's just gone purple. Oh, no, he hasn't. Moreira, 2:06.3 has the fastest lap, but Moreira's fastest lap, Noralampi's fastest lap of the race, shall I say. And he's still 1.5 seconds back off of Jörn Friche. That's got to be so frustrating that he's going the fastest he has done, and it's still not good enough.
Well, this is what you deal with when you're racing at the top. It's no longer a case of just being able to sit back and use your talent to run away from everybody. Now you've got to use every last inch of everything on this track and in these cars. And that's what you're seeing with Noralampi. He's kind of being a little overwhelmed, although I'm starting to get the sense that he's not got everything in it because of this sickness that he's dealing with. We just haven't seen him on the pace like typical in these last 2 races.
In the last 3 races, you could say even. And, well, Joe, I wonder that's the reason why iRating exists, does it not?
Certainly does. And, well, these guys all have pretty tremendous iRating with the way that they've been racing in this series for so long and getting, finishing ahead of so many other drivers. But looking at the way that the race is going, it's kind of settling down amongst these 3. Look at the gaps between them now. It's about a second between all of the top podium drivers.
And, well, 1 second between them, it can very easily turn on a coin's flip. So don't count anything out just yet. They may be the best of the best, but even the best start making mistakes. Carl's still in that battle with Valimaki now for position 18 out on circuit. And, well, Thorsten Cal, he's just got to stay calm here. Just make sure that he doesn't make too many mistakes. Very similar to the one that he made earlier on in this event where he ran too deep into the final chicane. Good run out to corner Paul Frere, but still a little bit too far back.
And unfortunately, not going to get the opportunity here. Let's see how he does through Blanchimont. If he could just hold on and maybe even get a run coming up to the bus stop. Yeah, a little bit wide for Valimaki, not wide enough. And Call's not going to get the chance down into this chicane.
Not going to get a chance, but again a wiggle from Nuno Moreira as he heads through that little kink onto the Kemmel straight. The big uphill straight heading towards Les Combes. And, well, Moreira's trying everything to get rid of Jörn Friche. I think Friche's vehicle is set up very well to run in the draft on the straights, but does not have the cornering capability that other drivers would be expecting.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was thinking, because it's coming up to Les Combes and it's going up to the bus stop where you see him get the closest. It's everywhere else that it's almost like he's swimming upstream trying to stay with Nuno.
And you'd say then he's taking the same nickname as Travis Schwenke as Noralampi under immense pressure from Kaya Ruakola just behind. The battle for third going on, and a missed apex through the second part can get away with it. Can the driver of Noralampi on the brakes for Ruakola in towards the Fania chicane. Keep it like this and Kaya Ruakola could be starting to amass a real assault on the bases of Noralampi.
Oh, he's trying now. Ruocola has just been a thorn in the side of the Finn, and that's really what he didn't want today. Although I think that Juha is mostly going to be safe championship-wise. He's going to lose a few points potentially, but not enough to really need to worry about going into the last round. He should set himself up well if he can just consolidate this position.
And it's consolidation that he truly needs. On the brakes they go again into the bus stop chicane for the 13th time of 21. They cross the line. There's going to be 8 laps to go here at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, and Ruocola looking to close that gap down. In fact, it was a horrible lap for the driver of Juha Noorlampi, 2:07.2 that last time by. Compare that to Moreira. He's just gone fastest again, 2:06.2.
Oh, this is not good for Juha, because look at how close Cali is now. The question is, can he stay this close up and over Radillion? He gets a decent run. Oh, this is danger. This is danger for Noorlampi. He's got a good slipstream.
And instantly, hard to the inside he goes. Ruocola will do it the long way around, like Charlie Borman did in his movie. And, well, he's got to get himself nice and calm, but he gets a slide through the mid part of the apex. That will compromise his run through the second part of Lake Coombe and into Malmedy. The hold is there again, but look at the run. He'll get off the exit now. Hard to the inside. Defensive line taken there from the driver of Noorlampi. He tried to dive one down the inside. It didn't quite work for Ruocola.
Oh, it's just that ice and the Finnish blood. I don't know how they managed to hold their composure in these situations, but Juha just unfazed by every attempt.
Unfazed, but challenged, and heavily challenged. You can see how Ruocola is fighting against that vehicle. Another little twitch as he heads in towards the left-hander, the double left of Puon. So there's a little bit of nervousness starting to creep into this event, and a lot of drivers looking to try and get some results here. John Stevens, you'd say, is one of them. He's still with Team Butoika, but again, he's one of the few drivers who struggled to get past people today.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if this is what we would see, that even though you've got passing opportunities, making it stick and just staying close enough to someone through the wake seems to be the defining factor of today's racing.
And I guess you'd call that a Murrayism, Joe.
It could be. Sounds like Cedric had a problem. Krolchik is in the pits.
He is, so we'll get a look at it. Replay up on screen of what has happened to the driver of Cedric Krolch. And, oh, it's another one that has happened. Up Eau Rouge. Radion gets himself to Radion, gets over the curb and starts to lose it. And, oh, it's a scary one. Back across the circuit and fortunately out of harm's way, shall I say.
Yeah, break out the queen, because another one bites the dust. But at least it was only 2 drivers that we've seen fallen victim to that. We've only got 7 laps to go. I think most everybody else is going to be pacing themselves. What'd you see?
I saw Jono Frisch's lap time. It's a 2:05.9. It's the fastest lap of the day. The first man to break the 2:06 barrier. Jono Frisch has just gone to another level.
And he's still only half a second back from Moreira. So despite that, Moreira has kind of answered him. He didn't close in terribly a lot.
Bycroft side by side with Clear Hughes again at Lake Coombe. He tries to go to the outside, but again it doesn't work, and now he's stuck. Hoferer now has to slow it right down, gets to the inside, and Bycroft has to let him go because he doesn't want to fight it at all, wanting to play the calm game. Look at how it's given Clear Hughes an advantage.
Yeah, Bycroft even actually came to me after the last race and mentioned that's the kind of way he likes to race, is he's thinking the long game. If he sees someone really get a good run on him, or if someone's faster than him, he intentionally lets them through to see if maybe he can get them back later.
So you're saying that he belongs to the Alain Prost school of driving?
Very much so.
Very much so. So that's very nice to see from Steve Bycroft, giving others an opportunity, but maybe for his overall race result, that's not the way he wants to see it go. And again, Jono Frisch struggling. And again, Moreira just breaking out a little bit further. It seems Frisch will always get within 2/10, but never enough to hold it over an entire lap.
Yeah, Nuno's listening to a completely different Queen song. He wants to break free, and he's doing it very well over that number 1.
He certainly is. On the brakes, bus stop chicane, lap 15 of 21. 16 of 21 coming up, meaning 6 to go. Here at the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps, over the line, gap 0.8 of a second. It's a 2:06.1 that time from Nuno Moreira. Very good lap time overall. You can just see how behind that you're seeing Noorlampi start to drift back. The gap now 4 seconds, and Ruocola being the aggressor, being that driver to apply the pressure is just hurting the drive for Nora Lampi to get anything here today. If he didn't have Ruicola in this race, he would still be there with Jono Friche and Moreira challenging for a race victory possibly.
Yeah, if I was Juha, this is where I'd maybe watch my mirrors a little bit more as it gets later in the race, because Callie's going to get a little bit more desperate, and the preacher needs to be careful because Callie's going to send one up on a wing and a prayer.
It certainly is, and well, get all those references out there while you can. We've still got a little bit of time to go in this event. So now the next question comes along. What can Hofer do against Clear Hughes? We've seen Bycroft struggle. Is Hofer going to be a little bit more decisive? He's already +3 for the day.
Well, and that might be all that he's hoping for, but I don't think that will be the case because he can see Hughes, who's a little bit more than half a second in front of him. And that's something that really kind of urges you on. You think, oh, I could get that one more. I know I can. It doesn't matter how many positions you've made. You get greedy if you're a race driver.
Certainly do, and well, Clear Hughes, he certainly wouldn't be a sailor. The Welshman would probably have a leak in the boat, but Clear Hughes really showing how good he'd be as a F1 driver, or as a classic F1 driver as things stand. He's doing a very good job at holding off everyone today, and I think at this rate, if things stay the way they do, I'd put Clear Hughes as my driver of the day here, Joe.
I concur on that. And look at this. Number 15. Remember, that's their I rating based on the rest of the field. And with him finishing a 6, oh, he's going to have a nice haul today.
Oh, a nice, healthy bit of points. And that's what everyone likes to see. And again, looking at the leaders here, missed apex slightly there by Friche. That's going to mean he is very held up through that final section of corner. That's an unforced error off of the driver of Friche. Still a 2:06.3 out of the lap time. But look at what lap time Moreira did. A 2:06.1. Breaks 1 second. And that could be the hammer blow for Jono Friche.
I'm getting the impression that Jono was just tucked under Nuno for too many laps. He's torn up the tires. He doesn't have anything left in his machinery. And he's probably still trying, but there's just nothing there.
Well, he can try again, but sometimes it doesn't work out the way that you would have hoped it to work out come the end of this event. But what I am noticing is that Pablo Lambueras is slowly being reeled in by Timu Toika in the last 5 laps of this event. If he's not careful here, Joe, we may have a scrap on for 11th.
I wouldn't doubt that Toika is going to push hard to try and get this away from him. He's got a few laps to do it. 2.5 seconds back, though, I'm not sure if that's enough time for him to be able to catch up to him. And it's going to be even harder because he's still got to pass him, even if he gets up under that wing.
So this is the state of play that we have right now. Moreira versus Friche may be starting to burn out the cinders. Still got Nora Lampi versus Ruicola for the final spots on the podium. Remember, Ruicola is 4th in the championship, needs all the points he can possibly get to keep his championship hopes alive. Behind that, we got this one between Hughes, Hofer and Bycroft. Bycroft starting to fall off the back ever so slightly. And then, of course, Toika trying to close down the gaps here today. So still a lot of scraps going on. Now it's about who wants to be the most decisive. Sometimes it does take the mad, often the less calculated Moneyball method to get yourself into this event and get yourself that one final position.
And it's going to take this if these gaps stay as they are. Everybody's starting to split apart, including Hofer. He's dropped off of Hughes, we should note. So it's not just Hughes holding people up anymore. He's now running away. He
is, and well, he'd like to have closed up Joni Kajanen in position 5. We haven't talked about him at all today because, well, he's been on his own all day. And P5 for Kajanen, it's been a very good showing from him.
And not just in this race, he jumped over to the sister series, the Lotus 49, and showed that he's not just a downforce car driver. He got into that car, and I believe he got a podium, if I'm remembering correctly, which is no mean feat if you're new to that machine.
It is no mean feat at all. It does take a special driver to get yourself in a Lotus 49. You're not going to be the next Mick Claridge overnight, and that is what everyone will have to understand. Ruicola versus Nora Lampi. Ruicola brings the gap down to 0.4 of a second. Not close enough into the Lacombe section. And there was something very interesting there. Ruicola was very shallow through the opening of Lacombe. That's going to compromise his run through the midsection of the corner because he can't get that vehicle turned the way and straight enough to get that second part in a big ooh.
We were on board and a huge chunk of oversteer heading down to Rivage, but he caught it and somehow kept it on line. I'm wondering if he's coming in a little bit shallow because he's trying to stay out of the wake of Nora Lampi and get just that little bit more downforce on the car.
And something interesting I've just seen, QC Claps let through Andrea Ventura down the straight. They were very close together, and he said, pass left, I can't deal with you. You've got to go the long way around. He took the middle of the road, said, you got to do it the long way around on me. And you know what? Ventura obliged.
And already is running away. He's got a second over him, and it's only been a couple corners, so Ventura's got the pace.
He does, and well, you have to argue that if he was in the same position, he may have been in that long train and could have been fighting the likes of Hughes and Hoferer up further forward in this event. 3 to go when they get to the line, and Gernot Friche now starting to see the slow and painful death of not Juha Nora Lampi, of Nuno Moreira, shall I say, just in front of him. But a missed apex ever so slightly from Nuno Moreira has cost him in the long run. 4/10 it's cost him in the long run, and that's very crucial because that was again a 2:05.9 from Gernot Friche. They are pushing each other to the limit. Either one of them gets up to each other, or one of them loses it, or it stays the way it does. And I have a feeling it's not staying the way it does.
Yeah, the second that you give up is the second that you've lost the race, and that's what we're seeing from Gernot, as he's not giving up, because any opportunity is a good one, and right now he's got it down to 0.3 of a second just because he got back within that slipstream.
Well, you'd say Nuno Moreira at this stage is a very good driver. You could say he's a great driver, but to say that he'd be a legend of Lotuses, that comes down to can he hold off arguably the legend of Lotuses in Gernot Friche, the Austrian just behind him. That is the question that will need to be asked of him at this stage. Behind that, Hoferer versus Hughes, and again, Jed Hoferer just not there. Clear Hughes just using the advantage that he has available to him as he gets towards Lake Coombe, and then decides he wants to run away, but that's a heavy, heavy wide line he's taken through Rivage.
And that split them apart yet again, and thankfully for at least Hofer, Bycroft has not caught up to the back of him. I would have thought that maybe Bycroft would maybe kind of hang on and try and pressure him. Oh, another slide there from Gerd coming into Puhan. He must be struggling. He must have burned up those tires.
It's very easy to do in this machine. You can take a little bit too much by overturning this vehicle, and something that is of note is that the front tyres do get worn very heavily at Spa-Francorchamps. You're always using the front of the vehicle to try everything to get yourself into this event, and that's... Whoa! Friche, I had a look. He got over the curb at Blanchimont and was lucky that he held it in a straight line. That's how much that Gernot Friche is pushing, and look at how close they are.
Yeah, as we watch this, the thing to know about this for those that don't understand why this is a big deal, these cars ride so low. So when you get on that curb, even though it's not a high curb, that can mess up the car. He could have been in the wall to the left in a split second.
To the left or to the right there. Snap oversteer could have very easily been a factor, but the gap is half a second. This is the closest Gernot Friche has been for a very long time. So I start to lose my voice ever so slightly with 2 laps to go. And now look at Friche. Now look at him decide to duck underneath the toe. Is there a slight gap given by Nuno Moreira on the inside? He thinks about it. No, he moves to the outside. Oh, he cut the nose off of him in towards the Lake Coombe complex, and they both run wide.
No quarter asked, no quarter given. Oh, he's going to stick it in again into Malmedy. Oh, this could go the way of Nora Lampi if they're not careful. They could hand it over to the championship leader, and he could take the win if they tangle.
He could, but the issue is Moreira would still have the 1 drop week. Could still close that gap down when it comes to the finale at Monza, at the Cathedral, at the Temple of Speed. Now, Moreira runs for the hills. He runs to the border. Friche has given him a warning shot, but look at how Friche has struggled on this lap in comparison. Look how much time he's got, but it's not over for Nora Lampi either. He's got Ruicola in tow.
We're going to have eyes on both battles all the way to the end, I think. Friche, unfortunately, has dropped back a little bit, so Moreira got himself some breathing space, but man, this has gone back and forth so much, this could come back into play.
He's allowed to breathe. That's all he's allowed to do at this stage. Have a small breath as they head towards Blanchimont for the penultimate time in this event. Prix versus Moreira, Nora Lampi versus Ruacola, and we've also got the likes of Hughes, Hofer and Bycroft to keep an eye out on towards the end as well. So eyes on your race leader here of Nuno Moreira. There's traffic of Barry West, the Bristolian, just in front of them, who they may catch at the final stages of this event. The gap is still half a second though between them, and that's going to mean if Journo Friche gets a good run here through the last horse hairpin, he may have an opportunity to close down in the draft by the time they get up Eau Rouge and Radion. But Barry West could be the factor here. He could be the factor because there could be tow available for Nuno Moreira if Barry West is close enough. And the answer is no. Look how close Journo Friche is. Look at how much Moreira now will have to defend against the man known as Mr. Lotus 79. To the outside goes Journo Friche. On the brakes, late goes Nuno Moreira into Lecum. Side by side they go. The inside is being tracked, and it looks like Moreira will hold on through this section at least. The run to Rivage. Look how wide Friche is. He won't get a chance now into the corner of Rivage. Nora Lampi behind, under pressure, goes defensive against Ruacola. Ruacola on the outside as they head into Rivage and then towards Speaker's corner. That's not going to work. He can't get it done around the outside to get the inside into Speaker's corner. Back though to Journo Friche, and the last gasps are starting to happen. Big wiggle and off. Huge tank oversteer into the tyre barrier at Pouon, and all the runoff in the world would not save him at that stage, and his championship goes before his very eyes. Advantage for Nora Lampi as he gains crucial points to hold off and stave the charge of the driver at the front of the field, being Nuno Moreira. He has himself Curva Paul Frere, Blanchimont and the bus stop left to go in this event, with the driver of Barry West just in front, who could play still a pivotal role at such a late stage in this event. And Barry West will surely move out of the way when he gets towards this section, or Nuno Moreira will just back it off and just keep himself calm, because he has fought off one of the greatest challenges that Lotus 79s could ever go. I thought he was a great driver. I'm happy to put him in the category of legends. Nuno Moreira wins at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps and takes the title to the Temple of Speed. Nora Lampi finishes second ahead of Ruacola, and it's fourth for Friche. And I said it, Joe, right at the start of this one, as things go the way they do, that Journo Friche may have just thrown it away. It would be one or the other. They were pushing each other so hard, and in the final stages as well, Bycroft's got back past Gerd Hoferer.
Frisch was lucky he didn't lose it to Joni Kajanen, because he was coming fast. As we're watching this battle here for Stevens down in, I believe, 13th.
Close, no cigars though at the end of that one, and Suarez was caught by Toyka and Stevens, but not enough come the end. Thorsten Cow, oh my goodness, Thorsten Cow. Sami Valimaki will steal one at the final stages.
Oh, Cow's going to try to come back at him, but he can't get his nose in. Thankfully, they don't come together. You know, as Journo, I got to give him credit because he gave it everything. But sometimes when you give it everything, that's a little bit too much, and he found out the hard way on the last lap.
He did find himself the hard way. Replay on screen of what happened to Journo Friche then. Here, the Austrian driver, he heads himself into Pouon, and looking at it, oh, he just got a slightest wiggle, and he tries to correct it, and it's so difficult to correct an overcorrecting vehicle, because naturally, that vehicle would try and correct itself, knowing it, just snap oversteer, and goodbye Journo Friche, goodbye championship perspectives.
Yeah, in high-speed corners, this car gives just no chance to try and catch those slides. As soon as you try to correct it, that's when it's all over, because the car is going to grip the second you turn that wheel, and well, when it's turned to the right and you're in a left-hander, it's going right.
Going right, the final vehicle to cross the line will be the driver in the 23 machine, Barry West, who runs through Blanchimont and now will make the run to the final chicane. He had the option to be lapped. He decided, no, I want to finish on the leading lap, and Moreira allowed that opportunity to happen for Mr. Barry West. We like to see Barry. He's a very, very energetic character. Across the line he comes to finish the event. We're going to step aside for one moment. When we come back, the wrap-up show, or I like to call it the post-race show, here on the Global Sim Racing channel and on iRacing Live. You're watching the Lotus 79 series, brought on by the Classic Teams Championship. Well, what a race we've just seen from Spa-Francorchamps, and you thought for the longest of times nothing would happen, but the final 3 laps of an event which arguably has a lot of connotations heading into the final round 1 week's time at Autodromo Nazionale Monza. This is how the race finished, and Nuno Moreira goes from great to legend in Lotus circles. He wins by 5.2 seconds over Juha Noralampi, who brings the championship to the final round. Kairi Räikkönen will take the podium, but it's a lot closer than you thought it would have been if you looked at the final results. Jarno Frichet, a mistake at Pouon on the final lap, enough to mean that Jarno finishes 4th, and his title challenge is all but over at this stage. Joni Kaisunen will finish in 5th, a quiet race from him. Clear Hughes, driver of the day, surely, in 6th position, with Steve Bycroft taking away from Jared Hofer in 8th on the final lap. Fabian Gerber for the Renault Elf team finishes 9th, and it's Nicola Cocci rounding out the top 10, Joe.
In 11th, Pablo Suarez finishes there, just ahead of Teemu Toika in 12th. Then John Stevens comes home in unlucky 13. Andre Ventura was behind him in P14. QC Clapp finishes in the 15th position, and Sami Välimäki just grabs 16th on the final corner, ahead of Thorsten Kahl after he made a mistake through Blanchimont. Mark Pickford, Mr. Kittens himself, comes home in 18th, with Ryan Walker in 19th. Barry West, last car on the lead lap, in fact, last car running at the end of the race, finishes 20th, and then the rest of the field was Cedric Krolczyk, Matt Wood, and Marco Kika, all DNF today, sadly.
And that's 23 drivers after a very big split in the field today. But we have ourselves race winner, title pretender, and also what we could now say here on the Global Sim Racing channel is Lotus legend Nuno Moreira. What a race we have seen from you today.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
We got you
loud and clear.
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Yeah, it was very, very interesting race. I think I had a couple of these races here with Renault, so this is not exactly a novelty, but it's always great. But I'm so tired, I can hardly speak. So go ahead, shoot your questions.
Well, it's very understandable how tired you can be, because Jarno pushed you right to your limit as lap after lap you went faster and faster and faster. You were talking about 206.6s at the start of this event. You got right down to the end of it. You're starting to run 206 flats, 205.9s by the end. So for you yourself to find 0.6 of a second within the space of a race and keep it, Jarno surely pushed you to your limit today.
Yeah, he did. He did. He knows how to do that, and he did a brilliant race there. And sadly, he lost control of the car, and while he was trying, I guess, too hard, but it doesn't take any value out of it. It was a brilliant racing from him, and hopefully everybody enjoyed the show, because we had these side-to-side moments which will be added to our collection of P1 fights. It's great to see that again.
It is certainly fantastic to see these battles for the lead, but of course we have to talk about the championship. You take points again out of Noralampi, and now you head to the Temple of Speed. You head to Monza, and without your drop weeks, are you thinking that a win takes it away from Noralampi? Do you think it's going to be a straight one-on-one dogfight to the end?
I don't know. I didn't do the math. I don't know if I'm going to win at Monza. I love the circuit, by the way, but it's a tough circuit, and we have very good and fast drivers, so one never know. It's always an uncertainty, but yeah, why not? Maybe I'm a bit closer. I don't know if the gap is bridgeable, if one can say so, but sure, I'll surely try if I race next weekend, of course.
Well, you'll certainly try and do that. The points will come down to probably single digit for the final race of the season. But before we let you go, Nuno, shout outs or sponsors, anybody you'd like to thank here at the CTC?
Yeah, just thanking everybody that came racing today and participated in this great race, and hopefully we continue to see the numbers growing in the Lotus 79 races, which is our main goal, and bringing more quality drivers, more fast drivers, more every pace drivers. I mean, because always important to have more people here learning the car and having fun with us. So thank you very much, guys, and have a great rest of the weekend. Thank you.
No worries at all. Nuno Moreira, ever gracious in victory. And well, Joe, from one title contender to the other, you found yourself a certain preacher.
Yes, Juha Norlampi has joined us. And Juha, my first question is, we understand you've been a little bit under the weather. So how are you feeling today?
That's the thing. I think that you are going to hear me this. But yes, I'm very sick. Have been 3 weeks now, and I was so lucky this time. But well, it was very close that I couldn't. Well, I shouldn't race at all because I'm so sick. But well, this is a miracle that I could be the second place now, and I think Gernot made some mistake there at last lap, but that's very unfortunate for him. But sometimes I need some luck also.
Yeah, and speaking of luck, there was the incident limit today being at 17. At the end of the race, I see you had 14 incidents. Were you watching that at all? Were you just putting that out of your mind and focusing on the race itself?
Yeah, so I was looking at it all the time, and I just make those X's deliberately because I just got some tense there when I took some cuts there. But well, well, it was very tough with Kalle, and I'm so glad that I could defend against him 2 times, or was it 3 times? But well, it was very tough. I'm so tired now, and I'm so sick, but well, I'm so glad to.
Well, I won't hold you too much longer than just one more quick question. Next week is going to be Monza. Do you consider that a strong track for you? Do you think maybe you can have something for Nuno?
Well, if I can't get any better. Last week I couldn't practice, and I'm very pleased that my teammate Quinten Cornelius Clapp QC made a fun, wonderful setup, and I drove with that because I couldn't practice. This was very good, but not enough. But next week that's Nuno's track again. Well, we have 3 points. I'm ahead 3 points. And next time Nuno is going to be faster again, but let's see if there is some miracle waiting for me if I can race. But well, I want to thank QC for that setup and all you guys for great work, and well, hope that somebody would like to pray for me that I can get even better now next time when we race. But I don't know what is this. This is a very, very odd sickness, because I had the flu and then I get better, and then I just thought that I will take a little walk, and I take 4 kilometers and it came back much worse. And I don't know if this is what they call pneumonia, or what is that called in English?
Pneumonia?
And yes, I don't know, but it's very, very bad, and I'm so hope that I can get better next week. But yes, I'm sorry, I must now stop, but goodbye, bye.
Absolutely, and we wish you the best next week. That was Juha Norlampi, who finished second. I'm sure his fans will be sending all the prayers they can, and we hope you get some rest, Juha. Jake?
Yes, and from what was a very poorly Juha Norlampi to a man with a very poorly car at the end of the event, Gernot. That was arguably the greatest challenge I think we have seen to your title of being the best driver in Lotuses, I think, ever. And I think for you, the battle that you put up today against Nuno Moreira, pushing him to his absolute limits. There are a lot of drivers here today that are very tired after the efforts here at Spa-Francorchamps, and surely you have to say that that was arguably one of the greatest races that we've seen in the Lotus 79 series.
Hi Jake, hi guys. I think you're right. Definitely it was the most exciting race for me this season because I was struggling a little bit with my pace. But here around this track, I was looking strong all week long. So I was hoping for a good battle with Nuno. Unfortunately Sergio was missing, so that would have been even more exciting, I guess. But it was a really good race.
It certainly was, and at certain stages of the event, you found yourself gaining in slipstream, gaining time, and then through the rest of the lap, you'd start to struggle a little bit. Was the setup maybe perfect in terms of making positions, more rather than making sure that you stay behind a driver through a lap?
It's really tough. I think Nuno as well. I at least we were running very low wing setups, so it's good on the straights, and you need top speed on the straights, but it's really tricky in the dirty air with all those fast corners. So it's really easy to keep close to the car ahead and then go for an attack on the straight.
It certainly is, but of course you yourself, you had championship aspirations potentially at the end of the season. You needed points here today. You lose points to Nuno, you lose points to Juha, you head over now, and you'd arguably say the championship's over for you this season, but in terms of your effort, having missed the opening few rounds of the season, do you feel that, you put yourself in a situation where you're looking at the drivers who have beaten you this season and you think that you possibly wouldn't find any other better challengers?
It's just an exciting season. There are so many really quick guys, and this season it's quite extreme with many people competing for wins, so it's tough to stay on top every week. So I'm happy with good races, and I'm looking from race to race, from week to week.
And before we let you go, Journo, any shout-outs or sponsors?
No, just thanks to all the guys running this series. It's a great place to be.
No worries at all. Journo Friche, ever gracious in defeat in that situation. Position 4 for him today. Finally, Joe, a quick one with the Bristolian, Barry West.
Yeah, we watched Barry. Oh, hey, Barry. We watched Barry come home on the lead lap, and I assume that was a pride thing for you, wanting to stay ahead of Nuno. Are you glad that he lifted off a little bit and let you come home with all 21 laps?
Yeah, I thanked him for that after the race. I mean, I could see that it was close between Gurno and Nuno, so I was going to move over when they were 1 second behind and just slow right up because I didn't want to interfere with their race. And then I saw Gurno 6 seconds further back, and I thought something's happened. And then Nuno was right up with me, and I thought, should I let him go? No, he can see what's happening. So he kindly let me finish on the lead lap. I just thought I'd pop in and let you know why I'm pushed at the back, because I had to go and get fuel. I didn't put any fuel in the race, so I had to go and pit. I
was wondering what sent you back there. And one more quick question for you. With it having split today, obviously you wound up in the top split. Do you prefer that and be able to fight with the big guys, or would you rather have been down in the lower split and maybe potentially get yourself a win?
No, I'd sooner be up here because I think I'm normally fighting with Thorsten and Sammy. So yeah, I could have been up there with them and Mark if I didn't have to get some fuel, which cost me. I think it cost me over 50 seconds. So and then of course I'm right in the middle of the of the track. Halfway around the lap, halfway in front of the leaders, and then halfway behind the tail end. So I was just no draft at all. So I was just losing hands down. I mean, you look at my fastest lap time. I think it was 2:09 something, and qualifying was 2:07. So either I've got a car problem, or it was a draft that made that much difference. But I didn't have nobody to play with today. But it was a matter of pride to get home on the lead lap.
And there we see on the replay right now the dreaded moment coming in for that splash of fuel. Well, commiserations, and hopefully we'll see you doing a little bit better at Monza.
Yeah, I look forward to that. See you guys. Thanks for a great job. Cheers.
That was Barry West, and it sounds like we got to close up today here, Jake.
It certainly does sound that way. So that's all we've got time for on this early afternoon, but we must offer our thanks to all of you who have been watching the action here this afternoon, and to all the drivers and teams of the Classic Team Championship for their stunning battles and their decision to fly GSRC. Thanks also have to go out to the companies, equipment and software that have been involved or affiliated with this afternoon's broadcast, and we would also like to thank Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde for the music that you have heard this afternoon. Details on how to contact them are on screen right now. And of course, speaking of contact, if you are wishing to have your series broadcast, or you just want to find out when the next dose of sim racing action or otherwise is live, pop over to globalsimracingchannel.com or check us up on social media with the Twitter handle @GSR Channel, or catch us on Facebook as the Global Sim Racing Channel. The finale to the CTC goes to the Temple of Speed at Autodromo Nazionale Monza, but I have to admit, I am gutted that I will not be able to be around for this final race. However, that is just the way the cookie crumbles. So, to all the drivers, I wish you the best of luck. And to Sergio, Juha and Nuno, best of luck on trying to collect your retrospective titles. But, as always, that has been Joe Peak, that has been Amjad Yamin, and that has also been the man who some say straps a hammer to his steering wheel in case he runs into Jeremy Clarkson. That is Dougie Beard. I have been #DoMindJakeSperry, and well, titles come down to just single moments. And Journo Friche's title came down to one bit of oversteer. But the title between Nora Lampi and Barrera, that comes down to one final race. Remember, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.